The Owl is a talkless show about a curmudgeon owl that lives high up in a tree and unsuccessfully tries to eat caterpillars. He eventually got a bigger show with a cast of characters with dialogue, and today I'm going to talk about the hidden story behind it. But first, as you all know, I'm running for President of the United States of America, and here I am on stage with my opponent Dung, and we are about to do our first and potentially only debate. The debate will be at the end of the video to keep viewer retention. The owl is this pink little fella here. He doesn't have wings or legs, but he does have feet, which he just hovers above, just like our old pal Raymond from, that Rabbids game. The owl first appeared in 2006 in his own short series, fittingly called The Owl. This show lasted for 52 episodes, each 1 minute long. The owl lives up in a super high tree, like super high. When you actually think about it, do you realize how tall this tree has to be? You can only see the sky behind it, no other trees, no city behind it, no background, just sky. That is insanely high up. That's not even the weirdest part of the tree. Probably the fact that it's sentient is weirdest. In one episode, the tree is a living creature, but then that's never seen again, so make of that what you will. The owl's only goal is to eat, and he eats caterpillars that live in the branches of the tree. Well, he doesn't actually eat them, he tries to eat them, but something or another gets in his way. One of his biggest issues are the other animals. He isn't the only creature up there. Most of the other creatures are birds, and they have just a handful of appearances. The woodpecker and the cardinal are the most prominent ones, but still, they don't really do much. Just like the owl though, they also hover over their feet, so perhaps this tree breeds limbless birds. Besides birds, the other creatures in the tree are a monkey, a chameleon, a squirrel, weirdly a sloth, and even weirder, a giraffe. And that's about it for the puny animals. Except a frog. There is a frog that appears 3 to 5 times, and he too pesters the owl. But he is more important than the others, because he is the only character besides the owl that appears in the second show. I would also like to mention that in the stork episode, Owl is on a roof and he attempts to kill the baby stork. So if Owl is cool with that, what else is he totally fine doing? At the end of every episode, some way or another, Owl is brutally killed, usually in a unique fashion. I'm not gonna go over every way, but he is usually sliced apart, smushed, blown up, torn apart, all other kinds of weird torture methods. Despite this, he is resurrected with every new episode. Or more likely cartoon logic, because most of these talkless shows don't care about continuity. I'd like to say this owl is built like a Mr. Potato Head. His eyes, ears, and beak just come off at will and doesn't seem to affect him. Are we to assume the owl is alone in this regard, or can the other animals come apart like the Legos I ate as a child? There's also a UFO, there's always aliens. The series ends with no grand finale or anything like that. Just another 60 seconds of some weird animal abuse and then done. Naturally, you would think it would get a second season or just end. The owl took the latter. Oh, but wait. Apparently, the owl was successful enough to get his own show 7 years later. So if he was popular, surely that popularity died down in that 7 years. I can only imagine the copious amount of batteries that were eaten by the writers before they thought of the idea for this next show. Let's take the owl and displace him out of his tree. Turn the 1 minute episodes into 7 minute episodes, and then let's create a cast of weird animals that shouldn't go together, that look like they might be friends with Jared Fogle from Subway, and then let's have them talk, but not let the owl talk. Also, the only thing Owl wants to do is eat caterpillars still, so it's basically the owl 50% of the time and the other pervs the other 50% of the time, thus creating the Owl and Company. This show ran for not 1, but 2 seasons, 78 episodes in each, which then makes it 156 episodes total, at 7 minutes each, aka 18.2 hours of super creepy animation and generic stories. When I first did that math, I thought great, not looking forward to this one. I then realized this show doesn't exist anywhere. I'm convinced a large chunk of the show is lost media. Nowhere on Earth has this show. I tried to search the depths of hell, but Satan didn't let me in. That was for other things I did though. I searched the forest, asking the native owls if they knew where I could watch it, but that never got anywhere. They couldn't even understand my name. I said I was Mung, but then they said who, and then I said Mung, and then they said who, and I kept saying Mung, and it never got anywhere. I had nowhere left to turn, except for my wonderful YouTube comments. I realized how much of a dummy-dum I am. This show is French. Look it up in French. La Chouette et Compagnie. It helped tremendously, so thank you to everyone who helped, but it wasn't enough. There still isn't enough out there to get the full show, but I learned enough from the atrocity I did watch. Keep in mind, this stuff was in French, so effectively, this was yet again another talkless show for me. Let's go over our colorful cast of creatures. The owl. He's the exact same as he was in the original series, and he still can't talk, yet everyone else can, and it's super weird. The caterpillars. Owl wants to eat them. It's lovely they give them personality as we watch our main dude we're supposed to root for try and absolutely obliterate generations of caterpillars to come. Frog. Like I said, he was in the original show, but this frog is lighter in color, so I don't actually think he was in the original show. I think that one's dead. Probably ran over by a car. This frog definitely has a personality, but I didn't pick up on it. According to Studio Hari, the French folk that made the show, the frog is just like me, terribly self-centered, and have massive self-esteem, and he believes he is always the best one for the job. He likes to boss everyone around and enforce a bunch of made-up rules he makes. The next character, prepare your eyes. I'm sorry I have to show him. The sheep. I can't get over how awful he looks. Who approved this final design? I'm confident this sheep is suffering from addiction. Which kind? All of them. Usually a quirky cast and random animal choices are fun and unique, but I can't get over how much he doesn't belong with the others. Also, his proportions are pretty jarring too. He's the same size as everyone else, but like, it shouldn't be close. Not that I expect realism from this show, but it was kind of distracting. The stick bug, despite what you think, this is not the Applejack's mascot. My guy has 4 arms, so that's like 1, 2, 3, 4. Double the amount most people have. He's an inventor, but he's also dumb, because none of his stuff actually works out in the end. And he's also the reason they go to space and stuff sometimes. No biggie, regular occurrences here. He's like a minimum of 2 feet tall. He's probably more than that, but I can guarantee he's at least that height because of how similar in size he is to the sheep and all the others. Finally, the last main character, the bat. I'm not talking about this one. I don't like it. Now the other characters that appear often, but not constantly, the flamingo. Pretty cool design. I wish he was the main character. He looks like they ripped him from a different show. The rooster, he's a character all right. He has a son named Chick, and he has a father. At least I think that's what it's supposed to be. He's also a rooster, but looks like he's hanging on by a thread. The polecat, somehow he found a tie. Also, I don't have a single iota of an idea what a polecat is, besides a regular house cat that had a rough life and took up stripping, but I don't think that's what a polecat is. Pretty sure that thing's a skunk, and I will not take any counter arguments. The next character is by far my favorite, the penguin. He has such a pleasing and huggable design, destined for plushies. He has a little jetpack thingy-mabob that keeps him cool, and I think that is brilliant. There's some other ones, but it's other animals that would or wouldn't exist normally in the forest. They're not important. Now, the goofy show. It really feels like the same thing every time, again. I can't watch much of it. Thank God. But I've seen roughly a third of it. And I also have a bunch of episode synopses. What is the plural? Anyway, the plots are decent. Nothing crazy. Lots of stuff revolves around Stickbug's inventions or other sci-fi stuff. Other episodes are movie parodies. There seems to be quite a lot of those. Truly not much happens in this show. The owl is always hunting the caterpillars and usually never pays attention to the story the other animals are having. The owl also still dies in every episode, except for now it's multiple times and definitely lost its comedic punch. There is an episode of a different show that creates a shared universe, The Jungle Bunch. Never heard of it? Well, we're in the same boat. The Jungle Bunch is about a penguin raised by tigers, and he lives in the jungle with a bunch of other creatures. Mr. Stickbug creates some machine that sends the owl into the Jungle Bunch universe. There really isn't a spectacular story, just that the owl slightly interacts with the characters while chasing a caterpillar. Really quite a lackluster crossover. The owl gets back when he digs straight through the planet using a drill machine the Jungle Bunch created for him. This crossover could have been like a lot cooler, and they completely wasted the opportunity. And with that, that's genuinely about it. Unfortunately, there isn't much more. There's a Tarzan frog. There's one episode where they chase after a mummy version of owl, so I guess we're assuming the owl has Egyptian-like ancestors. There's another episode where they hunt down treasure from a buried treasure map, but nothing ever leads to the next thing, which is common for like every cartoon ever. But because of that, there isn't a ton of story building. If we can learn anything from this show, don't take a really clever short series and give it its own show with nothing relating back to the original, and just use the name to sell it. Oh wait, that happens all the time. Oh well. Alright, now the debate begins.
Gentlemen, let's begin this debate. We will start on the topic of inflation and how you plan on lowering it. Mr. Dong, we will start with you.
Well, actually, I don't think inflation is necessarily a bad thing. I prefer to look at it on Reddit or DeviantArt or similar sites like that.
Well, I think I just won the election. And now, really quick, here's some amazing fan art from Annoying Artist and It's K There Hi. Thank you both for making this fan art. Make sure to go follow them on their respective socials. With the election just over a week away, you gotta vote for me and Rabbid so we can get to the White House and make some actual changes. You gotta vote for me instead of my opponent Dung. And the way you can do that is by subscribing. And what's awesome is you don't even have to be American or 18, so do it.